Between April 18th and 24th, an almost imperceptible yet profoundly potent energetic shift is settling into place, and because it arrives so quietly, most people won't notice it unless they intentionally tune in to how it speaks to their own lives. This is not a dramatic, headline-grabbing cosmic event, but rather a hushed invitation to awaken to subtler undercurrents, a whisper in the margins of your everyday awareness that stirs beneath the surface of routine and protocol. If you breeze through the week expecting grand signs or overt jolts, you'll likely miss the tender dispatches of change that are already at work. Instead, you'll awaken afterward, surprised that something so meaningful slipped by under the radar. But if you pause, if you carve out moments to listen inwardly, to scan your emotions and notice those fleeting nudges of intuition, you'll see the invisible pattern emerging, connecting thoughts, feelings, and small synchronicities in ways that begin to reveal a larger design. This personal relevance is the key. The shift won't honor you with fireworks or fanfare, but it will resonate in the spaces where your most authentic self dwells, in the quiet questions you ask yourself before sleep, in the gentle tug at your heart when a long-ignored truth surfaces, or in the sudden clarity that comes mid-conversation when you realize you're ready to let go of something you've outgrown. Between these dates, the universe isn't demanding your attention with chaos or urgency. It's offering you a gift of insight for those willing to recognize it, not as an abstract phenomenon, but as a direct message tailored to your own journey. If you approach these days with openness and curiosity, you may find that what seems subtle at first becomes the very force guiding you toward deeper understanding and meaningful change. On April 19th, Mercury reaches its greatest elongation west, appearing at its highest point in the pre-dawn sky. A beautiful spectacle that seems to promise unprecedented mental clarity. Yet this celestial milestone carries a paradox. While Mercury's brilliant ascent may feel like a gift of razor-sharp insight, it actually accentuates the allure of superficial understanding. In the hush before sunrise, our thoughts may appear more focused and coherent, as though the mind has slipped into perfect alignment. We might find ourselves racing through decisions, convinced we have cracked the code on a long-standing dilemma, or that a hidden pattern has finally revealed itself. But beneath this glow lies a subtle distortion, much like a funhouse mirror that reflects our desires rather than objective reality. What seems undeniably true in that moment can be nothing more than a shimmering projection of our hopes, biases, or unexamined assumptions. This illusion of clarity can be so compelling that it crowds out deeper, quieter intuitions, those gentle whispers from the soul urging us to pause, reflect, and question the straightforward narrative. As Mercury shines with deceptive certainty, it becomes more important than ever to cultivate a stance of healthy skepticism, to interrogate our snap judgments, to look for evidence beyond the glossy surface, and to invite contrary perspectives before committing to a course of action. In doing so, we transform Mercury's trickery into an opportunity for authentic growth, using its bright glare not as a final verdict, but as a signal to dig below the veneer of apparent certainty and discover the more nuanced, resilient truths that often reside in the shadows of hasty conclusions. In the days when Mercury soars into prominence, its brilliant energy can captivate your mind with the promise of swift insights and decisive action. But beneath that alchemy of mental acuity, a quieter voice stirs in your body and soul, urging you to slow down and listen. Whereas logic bombards you with linear arguments, bullet-pointed pros and cons, and the seductive allure of immediate answers, intuition moves through a more subtle channel, a tightening in the chest, a soft nudge at the base of your spine, or an unnameable knowing that insists you pause before you leap. When Mercury's rays illuminate your thoughts, you may feel an almost electric confidence to charge headlong into decisions, as if the world is presenting you with an open invitation to prove your sharpness and agility. Yet this is precisely the moment when haste becomes your greatest risk. The mind's eagerness to resolve complexity can blind you to what your deeper self has already understood. Nuances, hidden consequences, or emotional currents that logic alone cannot decode. By honoring the resistance that ripples through your body, the gentle hesitation, the slight chill of unease, you create the space for discernment to arise. Discernment is not indecision. It is a deliberate practice of holding multiple possibilities, intention, of allowing insight to emerge organically rather than forcing a premature conclusion. It invites you to ask not only, does this make sense, but also, does this feel true? In cultivating this balance between thinking and sensing, you transform Mercury's dazzling speed into a gateway for wisdom. You harness the planet's quicksilver brilliance without surrendering the slower, steadier flame of inner guidance. The result is a clarity that endures, one that integrates head and heart, thought and feeling, into decisions that resonate on every level of your being. On April 21st, as the moon slips into its final quarter, its once radiant glow diminishes to a slender sliver, signaling that this phase is not about launching fresh ventures, but about uncovering and releasing what has long lurked beneath the surface. In this waning illumination, the spotlight shifts inward, inviting you to peer into the hidden crevices of your life. Those habitual thoughts, buried emotions, and unexamined commitments that have grown so familiar they've become invisible. Rather than bringing new projects to life, the final quarter moon asks you to take stock of what no longer serves your highest good. Outdated beliefs that limit your potential, relationships that have run their course, or routines that drain your energy more than they nourish it. As the moon's light fades, it casts shadows that reveal the contours of inner terrain previously obscured by the bright glare of ambition and day-to-day busyness. Notice where tension arises, which memories resurface, and what aspects of your world feel stagnant. These are the cues pointing to what's ripe for release. This phase encourages a kind of emotional pruning, gently but deliberately letting go of the excess so that space is created for true growth in the coming cycle. It's a moment of honest self-audit, in which you honor the wisdom you've gained, acknowledge the lessons of recent months, and free yourself from attachments that have outlived their purpose. By leaning into the moon's diminishing light, you cultivate clarity about what must be surrendered for your spirit to thrive. In doing so, you align with the natural rhythm of contraction that precedes renewal, ensuring that when the new moon arrives, you're entering its fresh possibilities, unburdened, with room to receive and create from a place of authenticity and strength. At this juncture, the cosmos seems to press the pause button, inviting you into a rare pocket of stillness where forward motion gives way to gentle examination of what truly nourishes your spirit. As the frenetic pace of daily life softens, you'll find yourself naturally drawn inward, prompted to survey the terrain of your heart and mind with fresh eyes. Notice the vibrant shoots of joy and creativity, projects that feel effortless, relationships that uplift, habits that energize, and honor those as the living proof of what is thriving in your world. At the same time, allow awareness to drift toward the tangled thickets of outdated commitments, repetitive worries, and routines you cling to out of habit rather than genuine need. These overgrown patterns, once helpful in another season, now encroach on your vitality, siphoning energy that could be reclaimed for truer purposes. In this crucible of calm, you're encouraged to wield discernment like a gardener's shears. Prune mercilessly where growth has stalled, cut away the deadwood of obligations that no longer serve you, and clear space for fresh seeds of intention to take root. This process isn't about ruthless self-criticism, but about compassionate stewardship, recognizing that every cutting back makes room for deeper flourishing. You might discover that the very habits you once viewed as anchors have become weighty anchors, tethering you to old stories or limiting beliefs. By acknowledging their hold and choosing to release them, you create breathing room for clarity, innovation, and authenticity to bloom. Ultimately, this invitation to pause and reflect is a gift, a chance to recalibrate your inner compass, to celebrate what sustains you, and to let go of what impedes the next chapter of growth. When you emerge from this period of introspection, you'll step forward with renewed purpose, carrying only the pruned, potent essentials of your life's garden. On April 24th, as Venus reaches its most radiant point in the evening sky, its luminous presence acts like a cosmic spotlight on the deepest layers of your inner world, your core values, the people you allow into your circle, and the quiet longings you may have been too polite or too afraid to voice. Under this glowing influence, you begin to notice the subtle ways you've been making do in your relationships and daily routines. The small compromises you accepted for the sake of convenience, the half-hearted yeses you gave when you really wanted to say no, and the unspoken boundaries that eroded piece by piece until they were almost invisible. Venus doesn't allow such tolerances to remain hidden. She gently yet insistently invites you to confront them, revealing where your energy has been leaking away into situations or connections that no longer feed your soul. At the same time, her brilliant light highlights what genuinely nourishes you, those friendships that spark joy, the creative pursuits that set your heart alight, and the rituals that make you feel fully alive in your body. This celestial illumination is not about blaming yourself for past concessions, but about empowering you to realign with honesty and self-respect. You are shown with crystalline clarity where your sense of worth has been compromised and how you can choose differently. Moving forward, the gift of Venus's radiant truth is the opportunity to reclaim your time, your love, and your attention, and to direct them toward the people, passions, and practices that truly honor your essence. As the evening unfolds, let her brilliance guide you in reaffirming your priorities. Speak up for what you value, release what drains you, and embrace the relationships and activities that reflect your most authentic self. In doing so, you not only restore harmony to your own life, but also create a magnetic field of genuine affection and purpose that others will be drawn to and inspired by. Embarking on an inner audit of your habits and relationships invites you to step back and thoughtfully examine the daily rituals, commitments, and connections that shape your life. Begin by taking inventory of your routines, those seemingly automatic actions that fill your hours, asking yourself which ones genuinely align with your deepest values and aspirations, and which leave you feeling depleted or stuck in a cycle of unfulfillment. Notice how you spend your mornings, afternoons, and evenings. Are you engaging in activities that energize and inspire you? Or are you merely checking off tasks that no longer hold personal meaning? Next, turn your attention to the web of relationships woven throughout your life, from family and friends to professional colleagues and casual acquaintances. Reflect on which interactions uplift and nourish you, fostering growth, authenticity, and mutual respect, and which ones drain your emotional reserves or subtly constrain your self-expression. Pay special heed to commitments you have made, whether to people, projects, or causes, and evaluate whether they continue to reflect who you truly are, or if they have outgrown their relevance, now demanding more from you than you can healthily give. As you sift through these elements, honor the discoveries that feel empowering. Reiterate or reinforce the habits and bonds that resonate with your core identity, and gently release those that do not. Recognize that this process is not about a harsh judgment, but about compassionate discernment, clarifying where to invest your time and energy for the greatest personal fulfillment. By conducting this thorough, honest appraisal, you restore agency over your inner world, allowing you to cultivate a life shaped by authentic purpose rather than by inertia or obligation. And in doing so, you create the space for genuine growth, creativity, and sustained well-being. Confronting discomfort is not just an unpleasant necessity. It's a powerful catalyst for genuine growth. When you pay attention to the tension that arises in your body or mind at the hint of an uncomfortable truth, you're actually receiving a signal that you're on the cusp of meaningful change. Whether it's the unease you feel when facing a difficult conversation, the knot in your stomach at the prospect of taking on a new challenge, or the restlessness that comes from recognizing a pattern you've long ignored. These sensations are not obstacles but signposts pointing toward areas ripe for transformation. Rather than recoiling or discounting them, try leaning in with a curious, compassionate mindset. Ask yourself what the discomfort is trying to teach you and what possibility it holds if you move through it instead of around it. In practice, this might look like pausing in the middle of a stressful meeting to take a few grounding breaths, journaling about the fears that surface when you consider pursuing a bold idea, or even sharing your vulnerable feelings with someone you trust. Each time you choose to stay with the tension, observing it without judgment and committing to explore its source, you weaken the hold that avoidance has had over you and reinforce your capacity to adapt and evolve. Over time, what once felt impossible begins to lose its grip, and you discover a deeper reservoir of resilience, creativity, and self-trust. Embracing discomfort in this way doesn't promise that the path will be easy, but it does ensure that the changes you initiate are more likely to stick, because they're forged in the very crucible of your own courage. By honoring discomfort as a reliable herald of growth, you shift from viewing difficult emotions as threats to recognizing them as essential companions on your journey toward lasting transformation. Under the steady, grounded influence of Taurus, measured expression and clear boundaries emerge as vital practices for nurturing both inner balance and genuine connections with others. When you communicate, let authenticity be your guide. Choose words that reflect your deepest convictions and values, honoring the integrity of your truth, even when it feels challenging to be heard. Speaking from this place of self-respect isn't about blunt force or aggression, but rather about calmly conveying what matters most to you, whether that's a desire for more emotional safety in your relationships, the need for greater clarity about shared responsibilities at work, or simply the wish to be recognized and appreciated for who you are. Equally important, however, is learning the artful use of silence. Under Taurus's pragmatic sway, silence serves not as a vacuum, but as a protective barrier that preserves your energy and allows space for reflection. Rather than rushing to fill every lull in conversation or conceding to pressure to respond immediately, pause and tune into your inner landscape. What are you feeling, and what does your body need before you speak again? This deliberate withholding of words can communicate as powerfully as speech itself, demonstrating patience, discernment, and the unspoken boundary that your time and attention are precious. Over time, cultivating this balance between open communication and thoughtful quiet strengthens your sense of self-worth. You'll find that others come to respect both your honesty and your discernment, recognizing that when you share, it is with purpose, and when you remain silent, it is with intention. In this way, Taurus's influence teaches you that true authenticity arises not from saying everything you think, but from choosing to express only what truly serves your growth and well-being, and that sometimes the most profound statement you can make is the one you leave unspoken. Releasing external expectations begins with shining a compassionate light on the ways you've been pursuing achievements not out of genuine passion, but in search of approval from others, whether it's striving for a particular job title because society venerates it, ticking off life milestones because friends or family expect it, or measuring success by someone else's ruler. Pause to inventory your motivations. When you set a goal, ask yourself whose voice you're really responding to. Your own inner wisdom or the chorus of shoulds echoing around you. Notice the discomfort or resentment that bubbles up when you admit you're chasing something that doesn't truly resonate. This friction is your compass pointing toward misaligned priorities. As you identify these externally driven pursuits, gently loosen your grip on them. Let go of the well-rehearsed narratives that say you must follow a particular career path, live in a certain kind of home, or achieve conventional milestones in a predefined sequence. Release the unspoken contracts you've signed with other people's hopes and judgments, recognizing that trading your own fulfillment for their approval ultimately costs more in lost purpose than it ever grants in external praise. In their place, recommit to setting intentions grounded in your authentic values. What energizes you, what feeds your curiosity, and what feels inherently meaningful. This reorientation need not happen overnight. Rather, treat it as an ongoing practice of self-trust and conscious choice. As you shed the weight of should and embrace the liberating question, do I truly want this? You reclaim sovereignty over your journey. Freed from the burden of external validation, your goals transform into personal signposts rather than status symbols, guiding you toward a life shaped by genuine fulfillment. In releasing what others expect, you unearth the clarity and courage to pursue a path that belongs wholly to you. And in that freedom, discover your truest, most vibrant self. Cultivating discernment over reaction invites us to move beyond the reflexive habits that often dictate our choices, allowing us instead to engage with life's challenges from a place of clarity and intention. Rather than yielding to the impulse to act the moment we feel provoked, whether by frustration, fear, or excitement, we can train ourselves to pause and observe the stirrings within us. In this pause, questions have the space to rise. What am I truly feeling right now? Where is this impulse coming from, and what need might it be trying to meet? By refraining from immediate action, we honor the complexity of our inner landscape and give our wiser selves a chance to weigh in. Patient observation might mean noticing the tension in our shoulders, the quickening of our breath, or the persistent loop of thoughts in our mind. Reflection could take the form of journaling, mindful breathing, or a brief walk, whatever allows the noise to subside and genuine insight to surface. Over time, this habitual slowing cultivates a richer inner dialogue, enabling us to recognize patterns that once went unchecked. We begin to see that knee-jerk decisions often lead to regret or missed opportunities, while deliberate choices, rooted in thoughtful consideration, tend to yield more satisfying outcomes. As discernment deepens, our responses become more aligned with our values and long-term goals, rather than being hijacked by momentary emotional currents. We learn to distinguish between the urgencies that demand swift action and the subtler signals that warrant further exploration. In embracing this patient approach, we also build resilience. By giving ourselves permission to deliberate, we reduce the likelihood of burnout and cultivate a steadier, more resourceful mindset. Ultimately, by choosing discernment over reaction, we transform our relationship with uncertainty and stress, turning each moment of hesitation into an opportunity for growth, insight, and more authentic, empowered action. Stepping into authentic power begins not with outward showmanship or sweeping declarations, but with a quiet, courageous commitment to turn inward and dismantle the barriers you've built around your true self. It starts by recognizing the masks you've learned to wear, habitual personas shaped by fear, expectation, or the desire to fit in, and naming the limiting beliefs that whisper, "You're not enough, not worthy, or not capable of your loftiest dreams." Rather than layering on new accomplishments to prove your value, the real work lies in peeling back each layer of inauthentic identity, acknowledging the stories that no longer serve you, and creating space for the deeper truths at your core to emerge. This kind of honest self-inquiry can be uncomfortable. It requires witnessing the parts of yourself you may have long avoided or denied. Yet in that very act of witnessing, you reclaim agency over your life narrative instead of remaining subject to it. From there, you shift your focus from what you think you should do to what your essence truly calls for: a more nurturing job, a braver creative pursuit, or relationships grounded in mutual respect and vulnerability. Intentional steps then follow naturally, guided by the clarity you've unearthed. A daily practice of setting boundaries that protect your energy, small acts of self-expression that honor your gifts, and deliberate choices that resonate with your values rather than external approval. Over time, each conscious act, no matter how modest, a moment of genuine honesty, a pause before reacting, a decision guided by compassion, builds upon the last, forging a steady current of authentic power within you. This power is neither flashy nor coercive. It is the quiet confidence of knowing who you are, of living from that knowledge, and of moving through the world in ways that feel both aligned and alive. In stepping into this kind of power, you discover that your greatest strength lies not in grand gestures, but in the simple, unbreakable resolve to honor your deepest self in every choice you make. Inviting collective participation and mutual support transforms any individual journey into a shared expedition, rich with encouragement, accountability, and a sense of belonging. When you proclaim, "I'm ready," you're not only affirming your own willingness to embrace growth and change, but you're also extending an open hand to others who may be searching for that same spark of readiness within themselves. This simple declaration acts like a beacon, signaling that you're prepared to move forward, to confront challenges, and to welcome the guidance of a community that understands the ebbs and flows of personal evolution. In saying, "I'm ready," you acknowledge that true transformation rarely happens in isolation. It flourishes most when surrounded by like-minded individuals who can offer insights, empathy, and constructive feedback. Engaging with community support, whether through group circles, online forums, mentorship partnerships, or informal gatherings, allows you to draw on a collective reservoir of wisdom that amplifies your own inner resources. You might share your intentions aloud in a virtual meeting, post a progress update in a dedicated chat, or simply listen attentively as others voice their aspirations and obstacles. Each act of sharing reinforces the idea that you are not striving alone and that together you can harness the energy of shared purpose to propel everyone forward. Moreover, community engagement fosters a spirit of reciprocity. As you receive support, you're invited to contribute your unique perspective, lending encouragement or offering a compassionate ear when someone else needs it most. This dynamic interplay of giving and receiving builds trust, cultivates resilience, and deepens the bonds that make collective endeavors so powerful. Ultimately, by embracing this collective invitation and stepping into the circle of support, you not only accelerate your own journey through these cosmic energies, but also become a vital part of a vibrant network where everyone's readiness fuels the momentum of the whole.